There is no specific announcement from the automotive sector. However, on the electric vehicle mobility, I think there have been good initiatives, both from the custom duty point of view, GST point of view, and even the income tax on the loans on the electric vehicle. Our electric vehicle is a long-term direction for this country, and I think in that respect, it has been a good announcement. However, today the automotive market has been seeing downswing for the last 7-8 months. I do not think this budget would revive it so soon. However, there have been good announcements on the infrastructure, NBFC, and also on the consolidation of the banking sector. That will propel the growth. It is certainly going to take a long time, and I would say even by 2030, it may be anywhere around 25%, the electric cars. The three-wheeler and two-wheeler can be a little higher. I do not expect much on the truck industry, electric vehicles. However, the city buses may shift to electric much sooner.
Textile industry, yes, there is no specific mention in the budget speech. But yes, I see in you can say the indirect way, textile industry must grow. Is because a lot of announcements with regard to the rural schemes particularly, and also some direct transfers because of the social, you can say social direct transfers. So this will increase the purchasing power at the bottom of the pyramid, and when the purchasing power is increasing, obviously clothes is the basic requirement. So in a long run, I think that it is positive that okay, even in spite of the textile sector not specifically mentioned in the speech, I see a good impact, positive impact in a long run. I think they try to just ensure the Make in India success, and I think it's okay wherever there is a need, they can. I think periodically there is a need to increase duties on some items to protect or rather provide the level playing field to the Indian industries. No, I think they have covered many rather areas, I would say. Particularly, yes, first time I see a mention of a cultural change. You can say, they say instead of just asking for your rights, let's also talk about our duties. And that focus, if it is seriously taken, it's a good, at least it's coming out of the budget speech, it should have a good impact at least, and people should take it a little more seriously, and that will change drastically many things, you can say. Richard, they have to a little bit worry about it, but it's okay, I think. They also now, I see a new rich people, they are also quite now socially oriented, and they now fully appreciate, or rather they accept it positively, that yes, they need to contribute more. And I don't think they will mind, according to me.
On the renewable energy, I would say that not much has been spoken by the Finance Minister, but the focus on electric vehicles kind of demonstrated that the interest of the government to shift to renewable power will be high. Needs to be seen on the solar storage, which will be a backup for the electric vehicles. I'm sure if they are focusing on electric vehicles, that will also lead to an enhancement of or say improvement in policies for the storage batteries. But what happens to solar or wind and hydropower, not much has been spoken, so I can't comment on that. So as I said, in a short time that a finance minister gets, it's difficult to cover all the sectors. And I don't think so she has not yet covered, so let's not say overlooked. We have to understand the entire document and understand where the impacts are, because if you see, she has spoken about only 5-6 sectors. But there are about 50 sectors, or at least 25 important sectors. So you can't say they've ignored 20 sectors. I would say let's look at the document, find out. But I would definitely say that the focus on renewable sector and the green energy is there for sure. I like this time the way Finance Minister divided the rural India and urban India. Exactly do the same thing. When you question somebody, a woman entrepreneur from a village is totally different from a woman entrepreneur in the urban area, right? I think this is meant for a rural entrepreneur. 5,000 rupees benefit or a 1 lakh rupees loan. It's meant for the smaller, very smaller substrata of the society. That amount is huge. And we've seen in Bangladesh, for example, how smaller loans have got the women entrepreneurs of that country to behave better than men entrepreneurs. Possibly that model can be, and I think that is where I think it has come from, that women entrepreneurs, deliver better than men entrepreneurs when it comes to the village level. For the urban and the large women entrepreneurs, not much has been said, and there's no differentiation whether you are a male and a female. That's what I'm saying. The small finance banks is a welcome addition to the large banks, because the understanding of the needs of the smaller strata, they are able to understand more. Earlier they were the NBFCs. Now there is a mechanized and a controlled mechanism, which are RBI controlled banks, and hence I would say that this lends a little more credibility in the system of lending, that the small banks will be able to reach out to these borrowers and service them better than what could a larger bank do it, because you always require a different mindset. And that is, I would actually, I'm looking forward. I mean, you're still yet to see, there are only few years have gone by in small banking finance to contribute to the growth of the economy. But I would definitely feel that yes, these small banking financial companies will do a lot. And in this budget, a lot of liquidity issues have been addressed by the government. But the fact is, they're only looking at very strong NBFCs, and only to the extent of 10% of credit guarantee will be given. So it's yet to be seen, and the impact cannot be seen in 3 months to 6 months. The impact will be seen over a period of a year or 2 years to see whether this can be contained. This problem that we have inherited, at least recently, can be contained. Since you are from CSR, I think the proposal to list social enterprises is a very welcome move. The question is, will people look at profitable social ventures? Is a mindset change. But I do believe, and I've always believed, that no social venture can succeed without having a profit. Because once you have a profit, you can always sustain yourself and look for further growth. And we are not looking for extra growth than what is required.
Definitely a positive impact on the real estate sector. The biggest announcement was how interest paid deduction has increased from 2 lakh to 3.5 lakhs. Definitely a good move on that. She spoke about creating a lenient tenancy laws, which is going to help rental housing. There was also talk about how central government land would be released for affordable housing, again a good thing, and bringing in overall the HFC governance under RBI rather than NHB. So these are some of the good announcements made in the budget for the real estate sector.
I think labor reforms is very, very important. What she has announced is, we have seen in the past budgets as well, maternity leave and the Maternity Benefits Acts and other labor laws. This time dealing with streamlining of further of labor laws and also creating 4 labor codes, what she has announced. I think that's very, very good, because that's going to sort of impact the investment in the country, because labor has always been sort of concern from investment perspective, and so I think that definitely is going to help streamlining labor laws. I hope so that the companies will also deal with the gender inclusion, because you saw in today's budget she mentioned Nari and Narayani sort of thing. So clearly, now we are seeing in budget as well mention of women entrepreneurs, women startups. So that's good. And so if at government and budget also starts focusing on gender issues, I think that will trickle down to corporates. I think we need to do a lot more. When we talk about CSR, the corporates who are doing are already doing, but I would expect even the government to do a lot more, because effectively it's not just setting aside a certain profit, what is under the corporate law. I think it's doing a lot more than that. It's not like when we have creating the toilets, but then whether those are functioning or not. That's what. So one is announcing something, but as we discussed internally, it's implementation and execution. That is also we need to look after. So the question is, once you have done the CSR funding, how that funding gets implemented, that's also important. So we need to also watch out for what is going on once the funding is done. The government can't ignore it. You can't just say that I'm going to tell the corporates to do the certain percentage funding. Government also needs to be part of that. So let's look at it. Unemployment is one of the biggest problems currently in Indian economy. The question is whether those who are being unemployed, can they do the startup? So what is the government going to do to promote that startups? I see that MSMEs and startups have been given a lot of focus and importance. There have been a lot of incentives being given to the startups. So I think it's a good thing, because in future these startups are the ones who are going to generate growth and the job opportunities for the coming generation. So it is good, because from education perspective also there are more and more youth, they are looking at being entrepreneurs than just joining jobs.
CII broadly represents industries, and when the industry finds that the tax rates have been reduced almost for everyone, 99.3% of corporates have reduced tax rates now to 25%, everyone is very happy. So of course, from CII point of view, from tax point of view, it looks good. Overall, budget is all about receipts and expenditure. It's an annual strategy document as to how the government believes the government wants to run the country for the next 1 year. From where will the money come from, and where will the money go? So where will the money go? If the money goes in the right place, like in agriculture, infrastructure, SMEs and startups, the industry would do well, because all these sectors needs goods and services. Who serves that? Industry. So it's a whole ecosystem. In my view, the ecosystem should get more impetus due to the budget. I will explain to you the startup issue. The startup issue which got addressed in this budget is little different, little complicated. The income tax authorities used to challenge the valuation of startups when the startups used to sell their company. For instance, when a startup starts a company to zero, and let's say after 2 years the company sells it for 100 crores. The income tax authorities used to say, you have earned 100 crores, your cost was zero, now you have to pay tax on 100 crores. 30%, let's say 30 crores. I'm giving a very simplistic example. This budget says that the income tax authorities have no right to question valuation, which means startups can continue to do their buying and selling without being harassed by the tax authorities. A great move indeed. It is a backdoor move, but a backdoor great move. It will definitely help the startup ecosystem. In this budget, now we are all first focusing on this budget which was announced about a few minutes back. This is all about roads, they talked about waterways, they talked about construction of railways. These are all infrastructure. And infrastructure necessarily means corporate sector. Who services infrastructure? The corporate sector. So willy-nilly the corporate sector automatically gets a boost. Again, a good for the corporate sector. What is missing is a big one, is normally in a budget we talk about deficit financing. Deficit financing is excess over expenditure over receipts. That means if I receive 100 rupees, I can only spend 100. If I spend 103, I have to borrow the 3. The government has not said what is this gap. Is it 3.5%? As per an existing law, it should be only 3%. The last interim budget, they said they would be 3.4%. But now we don't know, is it going to be more than 3.4 or 3.5%? If this percentage is high, what necessarily means government has to borrow. Government borrows from where? Reserve Bank of India. What does Reserve Bank of India do? Print notes. And moment the government print notes, there is inflationary pressure. So this is one aspect which we don't know, at least the budget speech did not talk about it. I'm sure the documents will talk about it for sure. And as of now, that's a question mark in my mind. The richer people obviously should contribute more to the society, no question about it. And the government has enhanced the surcharge on people who are now earning more than 2 crores and I believe 7 crores. 2 and 5 crores. It's a good move. And of course, the government said as anyone who is earning less than 5 lakhs because of other deductions, no tax automatically tax need not be paid. Definitely it's a good move. I don't think it's a retrogressive step because it is only taxing high net worth individual earning a significant quantum of money. To my mind, they need to contribute a little more for the social benefit and national growth. Good move.